10 and I don't see anybody else coming in, so we're about to get started. Thanks for coming in. I see a lot of faces that I've never seen, so nice to meet y'all. Today we're going to listen to Ruben Hernandez. I'm pretty excited to listen to him. But first of all, we're going to start with the book of the month. I've decided to bring The Miracle Morning. It's a really cool personal development book. It's pretty much built to tell the guy's story. He basically almost died when he was fairly young. He got a really big car wreck and almost died, and ended up turning his whole life around. And his mission now is to change people's lives. So he's got a whole chapter there about how to. Let me see. I think it's for snoozeaholics. The 5-step snooze-proof wake-up strategy. So this is, and my wife can attest to that I have a big issue pressing the snooze buttons a lot in the mornings. And so there's a bunch of little tips like that that actually really help you get a morning routine set up and get started on the right foot and be more productive. So this is a book that I highly recommend. If you want to go check it out, I'll just leave it over here. If y'all know anybody who would be, hello, anything else, sign up right over there, please. If y'all know anybody who would be a good speaker for the RIA, go ahead and send a message to Lee. He's always looking for speakers, so if you do know anybody who would be interesting or know someone who has a good story to share, please send a message to Lee. He's always looking for people. And I'm pretty sure Ruben was just someone that Lee had picked, if I'm not mistaken. So, disclaimer, nobody here is going to give you legal, accounting, or professional advice. It's all food for thought, and if you think that's something you might like to do, take it to your professional accounting or business or legal advice, please. So today's speaker is Ruben Hernandez. He was born and raised here. He's been coming to the RIA, he just told me, since November. I remember he started a little bit after I did, but I've been seeing him pretty regularly since then. He actually is a speaker I really am looking forward to hear, because he's using more than one of the legs of the three-legged stool that is financial independence. Not only is he taking part in real estate investment, he's also had the entrepreneurial side of it. So he's actually opened and sold his own business, and very successfully so. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to listen to. He's already collected a very sizable portfolio, and his goals for the future are to keep diversifying, and he's got ambitious plans to probably get a residential subdivision by 2020. That being said, yeah, I'm really excited to listen to his story, and I would like to please start recording.
Already done.
Miss it. And yeah, so welcome Ruben Hernandez.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to live up to that, but well, my name's Ruben Hernandez, like he said. I guess the main thing that Lee wanted to talk about was not so much focus like on what I've done. I think he said later on, if I wanted to, I could focus on like my prior businesses and stuff like that. But he thought that everybody would would benefit from talking about the man cam deal that I'm doing. And so, this business is about supply and demand, and learning, as I begin to learn more about real estate, there's always something to learn. I bought my first building in 2013, and it was like for personal use. You know what I mean? I never thought that it was going to be like a real estate investment and that I was going to become an investor. It was just like, I need this building, I'm going to buy it. So I bought it. I opened a business there. Shortly after, we had to close down. And a lot of the stuff during the boom and bust period, that's how it happens. Boutiques, stores, whatever, they come and they go. But I did own Optimum Tour Casing Services, and that's in Ovalfield, same kind of deal. I just so happened to be able to sell during the good times, so I just sold in December, and I invested full time into real estate. And one of the deals that I've learned, I'm in elite legacy training, so it's like a Robert Kiyosaki deal. I don't know if y'all know who that is. I'm sure most of y'all do, the Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so that book right there is what started opening my eyes and, the supply and demand aspect. He tells you about seeing the opportunities in your everyday life, and what is lacking and where you can make money and things like that. Getting on into more of the books, I started doing some research and found that he actually backs schooling. That's the Elite Legacy Training. I don't know if any of y'all have heard of that, but that's what I'm going through right now. And currently, that's the only reason that I've missed, 2 RIA meetings or something. Yeah, it's because I was flying around. They have you going all across the country. But this next one's in Dallas this week, and I'll be there. But anyway, so that the courses, they teach you on whatever type of style of real estate you want to do. Like if you're starting off and you don't have anything, then wholesaling. You can wholesale a few properties, do a couple of months, whatever, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and then use that to buy. Right now, you can buy an RV spot or something and rent it out, and that'll become your working capital. Eventually you'll get there. But so there's wholesaling, fixing and flipping. There's let's see. Right now I'm about to take fun fix and flip. We did the trailer parks. There's a whole bunch of different classes. But anyway, I'm not even halfway through the program, and I'm learning stuff. Just being in these meetings, I've learned a ton. And if y'all are trying to get into real estate and stuff, then these meetings are where you need to be at. There's people that are here to help y'all and that are full of information for sure. And anyway, so the man camp deal. I saw that supply and demand. Of course, there's people that are living in these man camps. There's people that are living in RVs, and what are we gonna do? They don't have a place to live, so they got to live somewhere. Well, I figured what I would do is I saw a house that was up for sale on auction, and the house that I was looking for was to be outside of town, and that way, if I stored 10 or 20 guys there, they wouldn't be, in the neighbor's hair and getting into riffraff, how hands are, but. So I chose this house. It was up for auction. It had 2 acres. It was, I think, about $140,000 or something. And I bought this house. We remodeled it from the ground up. And whenever you see auction houses, they go for a really good price. Some of them, I've got some for as little as $60,000, and the after repair value is $300,000. So there's money to be made if you can, get that first capital to buy these auction houses. But you have to be aware, you don't get to look into them. You can Google map them, and you can drive past them. But if you go on the property, you are trespassing, which I think he had a disclaimer, right? You said the disclaimer? Yeah, so I trespassed on all of them. But it's just being recorded. But, I don't suggest that for anybody. Speak to your legal counsel. But, because you don't want to get into something that you're wait a minute, I didn't even have the working capital to finish this thing. And which I got into it, and there's some where I saw it and I was well, it definitely needs a new roof. Well, I ended up tearing down a third of the house. The roof was such in bad condition that the walls were rotted. Literally a third of the house had to go. And so, you just got to be aware of what you're getting into, or try to at least expect the worst and hope for the best. But so I bought this other house, and I can already see, by the pictures on Google and stuff, that it's kind of, it's been neglected. It was built in 2003. You want to do your due diligence on looking at square footage and when it was built, and if there was any additions, what the actual reason that it's been abandoned for, things like that. Talk to neighbors. That's something that's totally legal. So. Anyway, I could see that the house kind of had some foundation issues, and us as real estate investors, we love foundation issues because nobody's going to want the house, and so when you go to auction or something, you know, you want to tell as many people as you can that this thing is leaning and it's got foundation issues, because it scares a lot of people away. But
so why do you mind? Why do you not
because
mind?
you can fix it for relatively cheap, you know, and if you got the right people, that you'll build a team, you know, and you'll be able to trust certain people that are, you know, you want to have somebody that just does foundations, you know, you want to just have your plumber, just have your electrician, just your roofer, you know, and then you'll build a team of people that, you know, you'll start to trust and that can help you even like get bids. So like if you say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this house, but I don't know how much that roof's going to cost me, but my roofer will. So, you know, maybe he can tell me, and they'll see if I'm in the price range of even making money after repair value, you know, and what I can get it for. So we jacked it up, we repaired the foundation. It was off like 2 or 3 inches on one side, so it was pretty far off. But we did that, and then, you know, getting into the roof again, it was like, no, it might need a roof, it might not. But then we got that hailstorm like in April or something, and yeah, it needed a roof. Well, whenever we got into the roof, well, guess what? They built the house with 2x4s. The whole roof was built with 2x4s, and it's got to be 2x6s. So all of the roof had to be redone, and you know, that's all stuff that I didn't count, you know, in the working capital. So. You know, the expenses like that trying to put you down, you know, but you got to keep on going, because in the end, I still haven't rented it out yet, but it's because it's still a work in progress. We're like today we're installing cabinets and doing finishing touches on plumbing and stuff, and which contractors here, you know, buyer beware for sure with these contractors. You know, learn to who you can trust and who you can't. You know, sometimes if you go like the cheaper route, they give you a better bid. You're like, man, I'm going to go with him because, you know, he talked to me very well and he said he's going to give me a good price. But, you know, it's like, you know, the next door neighbor's second cousin's brother or whatever. And that's what's going to end up being like not too good of a deal, because in the end, you're going to spend more money in materials because they bought the wrong stuff and had to change this out. And there's a lot of stuff that can happen, you know. And they've stolen from me, you know. They've taken my equipment before, you know. You'll see, but not to discourage anybody, because really what I'm trying to do is make sure that y'all have a little bit of information on, you know, who to trust and who not to, or, you know, try to go with your gut feeling, you know, because around here it's hard to find good hands. But anyway, so we're doing the finishing touches on it right now. We're hoping we can finish it like by July. What we did to the house, as far as, I mean, all that stuff, yeah, but to get it ready for commercial use. So we're installing commercial carpets. You know, you have to have like signs everywhere to make sure you protect your assets and protect yourself from lawsuits and things like that. Always sign contracts with all these contractors, because that's a protection in itself. You know, in there you'll say, you know, that you have to have your own insurance and you're not responsible for any accidents and stuff like that. Just be careful if people see that you have a little bit of something going on and they want a piece or whatever, you know. But so, where was I? Okay, so what we did, the commercial carpets, we did everything like super heavy duty. If y'all know these oil field hands, I don't know if any of y'all do, but I'm sure some of y'all do. They can, you know, you can give them a piece of iron and they'll find a way to break it in half. I mean, that's for real. Especially these casing hands, man. I know how much equipment I went through and stuff like that. So it's like heavy duty equipment for, you know, 500 tons, and they find a way. I don't know, this just came off of it. It's like, it holds 500 tons, you know. But so we did everything like super heavy duty, you know. Like in the restrooms, we did like, I don't even know how thick it is, but it's like thicker than average vinyl. And the reason we did vinyl was because the floors, you know, they're wood, and so underneath it we just covered it with that vinyl, so it's super thick and it's water resistant, you know, nothing will leak or anything like that. We caulked everything, like triple caulking, and like we installed 2 other restrooms. So the house is a 4-bedroom, 4-bath now, and one of the bedrooms is like bigger than this room, so it actually hold like 4 guys. We're doing it where they will be comfortable, but it's also like an alternative to sleeping in the man camp. Because in a man camp they charge you, I think somewhere between like $120 to $140 a night, and you can get like smaller rooms that are like the size of like 2 of these tables put together for like $90, you know, but nobody wants to live in something like that. So I was trying to offer an alternative to that, and I came up with this house idea. The room that's about this size, a little bit bigger, I'll put 4 full-size beds, you know, with pillow top mattresses, everything. I try to do like some stuff quality, but at the same time it has to be like industrial because it has to stand up to these guys. And you know, instead of like the closet space, obviously it's like for 1 room, you know, so it's like maybe 2 people. So I put armoires in, and in the kitchen I ripped out the stove, I ripped out all the cabinets, we redid the bottom section of all the cabinets. The stoves, I ripped them out because most accidents happen on stovetop, you know, as far as like fires and stuff, you know, people try to fry stuff and then they catch fire, and yeah, there goes your asset protection right there. So I took the stoves out and I put the double ovens. So I put 2 ovens, 2 microwaves, 2 air fryers. What else? Yeah, the air fryers are like a miracle. The chicken nuggets are delicious. But,
if you got an air fryer and an Instant Pot, you're set.
Yeah, with kids, yeah, it's perfect. But so the air fryer, I figured, you know, try to keep the like hazards to a minimum. I'm building a barbecue patio for them and like surrounding it with flame retardant stuff, rocks and things of that nature, keeping the grass cut real low. The actual barbecue patio is cement, and it'll have a covered area too. Other things that I did for commercial use is I separated the septic system from the gray water. So black water and gray water is on a separate system. The septic, which runs just the black water, it'll take, you know, black water is just from the toilet. And so the gray water is washers and dryers, sinks, showers, and like vanities and stuff like that. That'll all go to a separate system in which you just have to have like a blueprint for it. As far as, well, you can check with your local authorities on this, but in Odessa and outside of the city limits, you just have to have like blueprints for the system. And other than that, they'll let you install gray water yourself without, you know, I have a backhoe, so I'm gonna put it in. But you know, y'all can check with y'all's local authorities on that. But what that was gonna do is it's gonna, you know, with so many showers, and I have 2 washers and 2 dryers, I did install like, it's like I try to separate the house, but it's all together, you know. But it's 4 baths, 4 bedrooms, and then 2 washers and 2 dryers on each side, so everybody can try to be washing or whatever they need to do at the same time. But with that, it'll actually kill a lot of the organisms that are in the black water system if you run a lot of gray water into that system. And so I was trying to prevent that, to have less septic backup and things of that nature. Other things that we did for commercial use is we did like an install of lights, you know, all kinds of lights on the outside. And we don't allow like overnight gas, of course, drugs and alcohol and things of that nature. So, you know, we try to cut down on that. I guess lights kind of keep the traffic, you know, down to a minimum. We're going to install a security system on the outside of the house, you know, not to violate anybody's privacy on the inside, but on the outside at least we can see who's coming in and out. What else? On the side of this property, and it has 2 acres, so on the side of this property I'm installing 15 RV spaces, and behind it we're actually expanding the man camp. And I have a builder in Fort Worth, and he builds trailers that have 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and 4 kitchens. So each unit has 4 doors that are facing the outside. It also has 4 air conditioners, so everybody can control their own temperature. The builder, I think he said they're 18 by 20. So it's actually like a good alternative to living in an RV. I mean, y'all see how these people are like jam-packed together in these RVs. And with it being more spacious, I think that it's a good alternative to living in an RV. And if a company wants to rent it out, well, now you're talking, you know, with my man camp, it's $75 per person per night. And so with me putting 10 people into this house, I'm getting $750 a night for a house that I paid $140,000 for. Put into it probably another $50,000. So we're talking $190,000 investment at $750 per day. And so within the first year, I will already be collecting capital on my initial investment. You know, so the ones in the back, they're the mobile units. So y'all can always, I mean, if you are looking into getting into something like this, the mobile units are a lot easier. You don't have to deal with all the carpenters and people stealing your equipment. And, you know, obviously you're still going to be renting to the same hands. So you really don't have much to say on how durable it's built, you know, and things of that nature, because, you know, you're getting it from, if you get it from where I get it from, Fort Worth. But they're $64,000 with the AC units. And everything, I mean, you have to furnish them, but it's kitchens, bathrooms, 4 kitchens, 4 bathrooms, 4 AC units. Everybody controls their own stuff, like I said. Everybody has access to their own room, and that's it. So the privacy's there. I mean, a little bit, obviously you share a wall with somebody, but
So it's $64,000 for one that is 4 units.
that is 4 units. And if you rent it out to a company, that's what I was going to say. If you rent it out to a company, you know, you can leave it up to them on how many people they put in. But the way I do is I charge them for 2 people per room anyway. So it's going to be $150 per room per night. So times 4, you know, $600.
So in 3 months you made up your money?
Yeah. And
So how do
actually,
you supply the water and electric and all that? How do you get that?
Septic.
Yeah.
so yeah, around here everything's going to be septic, and so it might be wise, like when you order them, you can actually order them and tell them like you want gray water and black water separate, you know, but that's a whole special order deal, and it'll probably be a little bit more. But I think in the long run it's worth it, because most of, I mean, you're talking 4 showers, 4 sinks, all that, those soap and detergents, all that stuff is what kills your bacteria that's in your septic system, and that causes your backflow. And so, like, if you can get a gray water system and a black water system, that's the best way to go, because your organisms are going to stay alive in your black water system. You're not going to have that many problems. The gray water is just mostly like skin cells and like dirty hands, stuff like that, you know, grease or whatever they wash off from the shower. And that stuff, you know, when you put it in a leach field, it just soaks into the ground, and you very rarely have problems with the gray water system, as long as you're not trying to get fancy with it and like water your yard and you have a pump and all that stuff. Right? I'm not trying to do all that, but you know, just make it as simple as possible, and then to utilize that gray water system, it's a good deal. It's a good deal. And so I've invested like another $6,000 just in the gray water system. But I think in the long run, you know, just for them to pump out your system one time, it's like $1,000 or something crazy, and I'm not trying to do all that. So.
What did you do for power?
For power? So, I mean, I own my own equipment, so I run my own power and everything, and it's out in the country. So if you're a homeowner and you're out in the country, I mean, you have the right to do whatever you want to.
What about
As
water?
far, well, I mean, you know the disclaimer, but you know, check with your authorities. But
What
as
about
far
water?
as, I have a water well system. So I have a water well system with a 1,500 gallon tank, and I put an external pump on it. So not only do I have the water well pressure pumping into the tank, then I have an external pump that's pumping to the shower, and in between I have a bladder tank that's keeping a constant 40 psi to the system. And so whenever you're doing the plumbing, like this is what I did. I mean, I guess if y'all are interested in doing something like this, you know, you have to make sure that you run the plumbing right. So what I did was I ran the 3/4 inch plumbing directly to the water heaters, and then branched out from there with like my other stuff, so that way the water heaters get constant pressure. You have constant hot water when these guys are like taking a shower at the same time, or washing, or all of it. That's kind of like the worst situation where everything is running. Someone's taking a shower in everyone, and they're washing loads of laundry at the same time, and the dishwasher, and someone's going to be washing their hands or using the restroom, so you have to be prepared. No, I mean around here, I guess that would be like the best bet. And I'm thinking about getting like a reverse osmosis system, but for an entire house, I'm waiting on that until like it starts bringing in some revenue. And once that happens, then and do improvements to the property. And that's what I do. Like I invest. I mean, I try to live like as broke as I can. You know what I mean? And that way I can invest everything into my properties, or like before into my businesses. I would invest 100%, and I had a full-time job, so I was actually still investing into my companies, and like anything that it was profiting was going right back into the company. And that's how you grow, and I guess my goal is like to one day leave a legacy for my kids, and allow them to go to college. We came from a very poor family, and so, the goal is to not have that for our children or for me. That's my goal, and that's what I hope to achieve. And I guess that's the next meeting, huh? When he said I can get into more personal stuff, but today it was just a man camp deal.
Still got a bunch of time, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Some more questions, but that's.
Yeah, I was going to do a Q&A at the end. I think pretty much like on the building. And like the business aspect of it. So how I do like contracts and stuff like that. Really, when I'm finished with it, I'm just going to go to Halliburton's Human Resources, and I already know that they need it. So that's for sure. If not, Schlumberger's down the road, and their Human Resources needs it too. But I've already been contacted by a lot of people. We have like some Dallas companies that are. They're doing, I guess, some roads in Pecos, and they're like super wanting to get a contract with me. There's an electric company that they're doing a solar
farm in Andrews.
In Andrews, yeah. And they're like, yeah, we need it, and so I can't build it fast enough. I can't. And, they're like, we need it 2 months ago. I'm like, yeah, I wish I was done 2 months ago because that was the plan, but.
How many properties do you have that you're doing this on?
Just one.
Just the one?
Just the one. And I'm, with the Elite Legacy deal, when it wasn't even part of the deal. Like, they had me stand up and, like, explain what I was doing. Because everybody's investors there, They're like, well, we want to get in on that, So they started, like, a $4 million syndicate, and they want me to run it and build a man camp for everybody to invest in. And I'm like, we can do it, but right now I'm not investing any capital. So they're all ready. They're all saving their capital and waiting for me to get ready. But I told them as soon as I'm finished with this, I can invest, with them. And so that's all they're waiting for. They want to get in on it too. And they're talking like a 250-man deal, 5 acres.
Well, why would you need to invest if you're actually going to be running it? That's part of the.
Yeah. Well,
right?
because they only get 20% divided by 10 people. Because they don't really, they're happy in getting their percentage back. Yeah, and so and that's at a 12% rate. So they're making a little bit, and then they get to hang on to 20% of $6.7 million a year. They're getting free money too. And that was a negotiating deal. Like they wanted more, of course. I just wasn't going to do all that work.
Yeah.
So you said you bought that one through an auction, right?
Yes.
How did you know the water well supports that whole infrastructure you're building?
You don't.
Okay.
So it's.
You find out. Rolling the dice.
Yeah. But you know that water wells cost $4,300 a piece, and you also know that Gardendale has an excellent supply of water, in most of the areas, and you kind of just. You want to do your due diligence before you just jump out there.
Right.
If it's on Moss and it's north of 42nd Street, don't plan on getting the well water out there, you know what I mean? Because there's no water out there. And you can look at your neighbors. If your neighbors have huge, what are they, bladder tanks, those blue ones? If they're real big and then next to it there's like a huge black tank, which is a stock tank, then that means that they probably don't even put out enough water to take a shower or do their daily stuff without those extra reserves.
Right.
And so if it's putting out like 2, 3, 4 gallons an hour or something, like you're never going to get a man camp there. You know, so you have to do your homework, you know.
So
There's some stuff you can work with, but.
What kind of gallons per minute do you get out there? And also, how many septic systems are you permitted to put out per acre?
So with septic systems, you have to check with your local authorities, but like in Odessa, it all depends on how far away you are from your freshwater system. So it's not like they limit you to, like on 1 acre you can only have 4 septic systems. It's not limited like that. It's limited in it's got to be 100 feet away from your fresh water, or if you case it with cement, now you can come in within 50 foot. Excuse me. But that's the way that it's limited. And then, of course, that goes for your neighbors, too. So, like, if your neighbors, which they most likely do, they have their water well, like, on the fence line because you want to have it out of the way so you have more property to work with. Everybody does it. So, mine's, like, at the very back of the property. It's 2-acre lot. And the neighbors is, like, right there, back there somewhere, too. And so, like, I have a lot of room to work with. The house is at the very front of the street. It's on Hollyhock. And I can probably fit 4 more of those trailer units in there, and they can share 1 septic system apiece. So I'll be installing 2 more septic systems for that, and then for the 15 RVs, 4 of them will be sharing 1. And so where the septic is will be like an actual RV lot, except for it'll be covered, and it's like a little barbecue patio too. So they'll actually like be, you know, right there barbecuing or whatever over wasted space, basically. You know, you can't drive over it or anything, so you just make the best of it. And
You have to power all this with generators?
no. No, you run your own electricity. No, you don't want to power any of that with
So
generators.
what do you mean you run your own electricity?
Or I do. Okay, so Encore, you have to call Encore for the poles. I mean, you put your own poles up, you put your weatherhead and everything, they drop the leg on them. And then if your transformers need updating, you submit a load sheet. And the load sheet is going to tell them, you know, this is what I'm trying to put in. And you want to submit them like as early as possible. It takes 8 months. It takes 8 months for them to. So like on the project, whenever I was doing that 250-man camp for the syndicate, they were like, well, what are the steps and what, you know, I was like, first thing is civil engineer, you know, blueprints and everything. Second step is we need to submit a load sheet to Encore because we're already a year, you know, 8 months to a year out. Before we even started, we're behind schedule, you know. So it takes a long time for Encore to do that. I have one property that I've submitted 2 load sheets. It was like a year and a half ago, and thank goodness I didn't go through with the project, but you know, I submitted 2 load sheets over a year ago, and they still haven't gone out there. Yeah, and so you have to really stay on them. One guy came out and he was running, what's her name, the RV park in Midland? Cynthia, yes. He was doing Cynthia's, and he was like, man, I submitted a load sheet 5 months ago, I still can't, and he works for Encore, so, yeah. So don't expect any special treatment. Yeah.
They're really busy.
Yeah, they're really busy. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. And so they have to upgrade the transformers. Like I know you are talking about the electricity deal. They have to upgrade the transformers to support what you're putting out there. And so when you submit a load sheet, you want to tell them, I'm installing, for instance, the 4 trailers. I'm installing 4 200 amp services. And so I need something to support an extra, 800 amps. And they'll size the transformer for you, and then they'll put it up. What you do is you put a pole with the weatherhead, and you put your box and everything, and they'll tie into the weatherhead. Everything else you can run. You cannot mess with the Encore pole, and you can't mess with the actual weatherhead on top. But you can run you run your cables up through the weatherhead and leave them hanging. And I think you have to have like 2 or 3 extra feet, so that way they have plenty of room to tie in with. You can run it down through the meter box, and you have to connect it, and then they're going to come in and put your meter in, and which actually, connects everything together. But you do run the top and you run the bottom, you run the breaker. You have a 200 amp breaker with all your different breakers on it, and then you run your main service to the trailer. And then I think you can actually run 2 services off of one. So off the main one, I can run like 2 trailers, 2 of the trailers that I'm going to install later, off of one pole. Yeah. And so what I'm talking about running my own electric, it's from that point. You're not going to mess with Encore stuff, for sure.
So you had said a lot of your success is from having a good team. But how did you find the team in Midland? I mean, that seems like a challenge.
It's like a test and fail kind of deal. Obviously, I failed on some of it too because I had equipment stolen. There's warrants put out on people right now, just hoping that they catch them. But don't expect to ever see any of it again if something like that happens. But you want to try to protect the next person. Hopefully they won't do that to somebody else because you took the steps, to make sure that they're brought to justice. So at least you might help somebody else. And that's the way I look at it. Even if I don't recover anything, I don't like to be bitter. I guess it says it in the Bible. You got to try to. But anyway, I mean, yeah, there is some satisfaction to know that they are in jail. You know what I mean? That's but maybe it'll help the next person. Don't ever expect to get paid back or nothing. But it'll help you to be careful. When contractors say, "Hey, man, I don't have a generator. Do you think I can use yours?" Like, no, you're not, because my last $1,000 generator had 20 hours on it, and the contractor took off with it. So. Yeah, just be careful. And, I think there's like all kinds of sites, that have like reviews on contractors and stuff like that. What's one? Angie's List.
Or you can just come here and talk to people who use contractors they're happy with.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way, is to like talk to other real estate investors. Like I can give you a few right now that I can, bet money on that they'll do you right. But just because they did me right, don't expect them to do you right. So you also got to be careful there too.
It's kind of like dating.
Yeah.
He's always going to be served better than you because he's given them more business. But if you show that you're going to be a repeat customer, they'll treat you just as well, if not better than him. So
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. So if you put it in that aspect, I have been catfished. For sure. But like I work with a brother from a church, and he does excellent work, and he takes responsibility for his contractors, so he subcontracts work out, and he takes responsibility for their actions, so nothing will ever go up or down. And then like whenever we run into extra problems, so like we had to tear down a third of the house, well, we just used my equipment. I have some equipment, we used it to tear everything down, and then like I hauled everything off, and my team, we came in there and cleaned up, and then we helped them, and he was just like, man, just pay for the materials. So you get, sometimes you get blessed and things like that happen, especially when you're working with these contractors over and over again. He's like, man, nobody expected this, and when I bid the job, it was just a roof, and $30,000 later, I got a brand new roof, but also brand new half of the house, or a third at least. But it works out because now I did it how I wanted to. I got cathedral ceilings, recessed lighting, I got a projector outlet and 72-inch fan and all kinds of stuff that just adds value to the house. And it's all like Austin white stone on the outside now. We built a whole nother addition on the front of it, which made it have a porch, and I got like big fancy lighting on the outside and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I imagine the house will probably be like $380,000 to $400,000, and I bought it for 65 or what, 75? I think 78, something like that.
So with this, I imagine, how do you go about vetting people, or are you just going right to the company and having them place it?
Place what?
People, tenants.
Oh, place tenants.
If you're charging by the night, right? That's
Okay,
not
so,
gonna lock
yeah.
it in.
So whenever you do a contract like that with a company, it's up to them. They're getting charged for the bed whether they fill it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say they say we want 2 of the rooms, and one of the rooms is the big one or whatever, and so that's 6 people that they want in the 2 rooms. Now, whether somebody's in there or not, their contract is for, let's say it's $22,000, I think $500 or something for a month, and that's for like the whole house. $22,500 for the whole house. And then they're only using 3 of the rooms or whatever. Like they don't get any discount because they're under contract. Mm-hmm. That contract is guaranteeing me that the whole house is rented out. Because if not, they could have just rented the 3 rooms, and I could have still got the $22,500 because I would have rented the other room out. So
you're holding the company more accountable.
Yeah, and they're also like, you want to put it in there, like if you are looking to do this thing, you want to put it in there that they're responsible for anything that's other than normal wear and tear, because these guys are going to tear stuff up. Because now, I mean, they're not under contract, so basically I have no ties to this house. And I'm living in there, and then like me as a homeowner, I'm like, somebody's going to be responsible for this guy being whatever you want to call him, but so the company actually has contracts whenever they're housing the guys. They have contracts with them. Now I don't have nothing to do with that, but I have a contract with the company that says that if this guy messes anything up, y'all are going to pay for it. And that comes out of, you charge them first and last month's rent and a deposit. So right away, if it's a year contract or more, or whatever, you're getting, 50 or 60,000 right before they even move in. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So are you marketing directly to the service companies?
So as far as marketing, I've put it out there just to get like feel, and with so many companies calling me, I'm like, well, yeah, I'll probably do another one. But I'm part of the Elite Legacy, so I have REI Black Book, and there's other software out there. REI Black Book is great. You don't have to be a Elite Legacy member to get it, but it actually gives you access to, like, I think it's Hot Pads and Cozy and let's see, Hot Pads, Cozy, Zillow, and there's one other. What's a big one? That's like for marketing.
Trulia.
Trulia? No, I don't think it's Trulia. It starts. Realtor.com. Yeah. And so all of those are on the REI Black Book. Like you put your property on there and you click like send or something, and it advertises on all of them. And it puts your property with the pictures and everything. And so that's what I do. I use Cozy. Like I have some out of town properties, and Cozy collects rent for me, and they send out notices for insurance, and they collect late fees, everything, and it's all free to the homeowner, and it's free actually to the tenant as long as they take the necessary steps. Like if you link a bank account or you link a credit card, or not a credit card, but a bank card. Bank card, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, then it's free. But a credit card does have a fee. Or like if you're late, of course, those are your fees.
Yeah, Cozy's amazing.
Cozy's pretty good.
Yeah, I use it to find tenants, but not to pay rent, so I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah, paying rent, I mean, it's pretty good. It takes a little bit, like 3 or 4 days. But I don't charge them late fees for like, as soon as Cozy gets it, like that's when I say that I got it or whatever. Legally, in my contract, it says when I get it, that's whenever. So if they paid it on the 1st, it would be there by the 5th. But if they wait till like the 4th, you're not going to get it till like the 8th, and so legally, I mean, you're owed like $150, but if they pay Cozy on time, I'm okay with it. So. Cozy's really good for me.
So how do you rent out by a room? You were saying you rent it out per.
So I'm actually, there's no contracts on the house right now.
Okay. What is your plan for it? How are you gonna do that? Just rent the whole house?
It would be
out,
best
or-
for me, yeah, to simplify things, if I can just go to Slumberjay and tell them, hey, there's 10 spots available, and you know what, if you wanted to put bunk beds in there and make it 15 spots, you're responsible for the extra traffic, extra wear and tear. I'm just gonna charge you for 10. I want $22,500 a month. Sign a contract, that's it. I know for a fact that Slumberjay rented out a man camp with over, I don't even know how many beds. It's like 1,000 beds, and it's off of 1788 and County Road 140. You know what I'm talking about? It's Warfield Road off of I-20. You head south on 1788, and it's on the right-hand side. There's like a huge man camp there. Well, Slumberjay rented it out for 5 years. They signed a contract and paid 2 years in advance. Yeah. So they received over $3 million at signing for the contract. And guess what they did? They went and built another one in Pecos. For free. They built it for free.
Have you ever looked at those tiny houses?
I've seen the tiny houses, and
They're
I plan on
expensive.
getting into them sometime, but they are kind of high. I was
They're
like, well,
really
I can buy a tiny house, or I can buy like a 4-bedroom, 4-kitchen trailer. You know, they're like about the same price. So like, yeah, I want to get into it. Maybe like sometime when you do. You know what I was thinking those would be perfect for is like a retirement deal, like with the senior. You know, they have like senior RV parks, and I think they get tax breaks and stuff because they don't. You know, obviously they don't have no kids and stuff. So I think they get tax breaks like on schools, like they don't have to pay school tax when they're talking about property taxes. And so that benefits me because now I don't have to pay school property taxes, you know, and so you can make like a little retirement deal. And so, yeah.
The location of this man camp is close to a job site or?
Doesn't need to.
So right now it doesn't even need to be. Yeah. So like if you were in a big city or whatever, yeah, you wanted it right next to the new Cowboy Stadium because they're building it or whatever. But right now, if you're in the Permian Basin, you know, you're good. You're good. Yeah. But mine's like 5 miles from the mall, you know, and then like Walmart, all that. So that's a plus, you know, but I'm also like far enough to where if they get into trouble, I try to make it outside of town, you know, because I don't want the neighbors and stuff pissed off at me, you know, they're going to be calling me.
Plus the
So-
city has ordinances too, don't they?
Yeah, the city has ordinances. I don't think you can even do, yeah, you definitely can't do anything in town anyway.
I think there's a limit with the amount of unrelated adults that can live under the same roof. I'm
Yeah.
not sure
Well, that's
what they are.
Midland now,
Mhm.
and they just passed that deal.
And I've
Really?
seen posts on a realtor Facebook group that they're going after some of those in Odessa.
Oh,
They
really?
get notices that have more than 3 surnames in
Yeah,
the
so
house.
if you want to do anything like that or have a big rental with a bunch of beds, just buy out of town.
Yeah, buy it outside of town, you know.
So Ruben,
But
you've
I'm gonna
been
call
there
them
one
Express
time.
on that deal. I know where there's a couple of Express houses. They're my old competitors.
Okay.
So for like Airbnb, they're doing that for,
For Airbnb, I don't know, is that short term?
oh, you're talking long term.
Yeah, I'm talking long term. I think there's a limit on those, but I'm not 100% sure. I just know that they passed the whole thing where you can't have tenants, long-term tenants. I don't know what it is about an Airbnb situation.
Can have long-term.
'Cause that's
tenants
not
in your
long-term,
home,
I
is
don't-
that what it-
No, it's not necessarily.
Yeah, I
mean,
think-
I've had a guy in there for almost a year now, but
Oh,
he
okay.
doesn't stay all the time. He leaves for a week every month, so he's not a full.
And speaking of the Airbnb deal, like whenever this stuff hits the ground, which everybody, I don't know if there's people that have lived here for a long time. But
It will,
it
at some
will.
point.
Save your money, you know, or invest it into something that's solid. Because, you know, just 2008, 2014, I don't know if these numbers are meaning anything to y'all, but they did to us. And it will hit the ground again, and everybody will move out. There's going to be a lot of beaten bow clubhouses out there. But
So what's your exit strategy?
the exit strategy, she was talking about B&B, the Airbnb deal. So, well, like with all these RV parks, you know, I would much rather live in a trailer that, or like the ones that I'm having, 20 by 18, lots of space, you know, stuff like that. I'm just thinking about Airbnb them out. They're also mobile, so hey, if you know everything, the proverbial, you know, crap hits the fan or whatever, you know, then they're mobile, so we can take them wherever we need to. We can go to places where there is actually a need for Airbnb, where, usually it's like theme parks, concert sites, things like that, but here it's kind of.
But you gotta buy the land in those areas, right?
Yeah.
You still gotta
Of
buy
course,
the
you
land,
would
and then
still have
provide
to
the
invest.
Water and electricity. and all
Yeah,
that.
you would still have to invest, but you have a whole mobile Airbnb, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing too about buying those trailers. Now, with
What
a
about-
home that's stationary like that, I could still Airbnb it out, at like a fraction of the cost, obviously, but you still have a home. You still have 2 acres. I mean,
Right.
I think right now the acreage is like crazy. So just the 2 acres is like almost as much as I paid for the house.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Well,
So.
hopefully, by the time everything happens, his numbers look good after 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah, and that's one thing. you
Worst
gotta
case
look at.
scenario, he's
Yeah.
just gonna make less money.
Right.
Yeah,
on the paid
you'll
off
just
house.
make
Oh, yeah,
less
no, I
money.
understand
great.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so especially with the $60,000 deal, 1 trailer, 4 bedroom, 4 baths, 4 kitchens.
Yeah.
You're talking, what do we say, $150 a night per one, so that's $600 a day you're making on one of those. And so, like you said, 3 months later, you can just burn it down if you wanted to, and you would still make money.
So you can get a contract for $22,500 for a 4-bedroom, 4-bath easily?
4 bedroom, 4. Well, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I already have lots of interest in it.
Okay.
And so these people are talking like yearly contracts, but of course they want a break. They want a little bit of break on the price. And so, even $220,000 a year, you just paid for the whole thing for free.
Yeah.
So that's still a little break too.
Mhm.
The man counts are way more. And what alternative do they have?
Yeah.
They're going to go to a motel and pay $185 for like the Roach Motel.
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't talk to the people walking around at night, it's like, yeah, you want your employees safe too,
Yeah.
so 2 acres out in the middle of nowhere, and they're not gonna get in trouble. There's not shifty go-betweens walking around at night and stuff.
What about housekeeping? Do
So
you-
housekeeping is 2 times a week. It's a full cleaning, and it's everything, linens, and especially like if there's turnaround, a turnaround will be like a special deal, and the fee will be passed on. But other than that, like if it's the same people, it's 2 times a week. It's a full cleaning, sheets, everything. And
Do you add that onto the price, or is it
no,
included?
the price, it's included in the price, and it also has like Showtime, HBO, everything, Wi-Fi, the fastest. All the appliances are provided. Any repair to appliances is all provided. Electricity, water, everything is fully furnished. Has 6 TVs in the whole place. As far as the blueprints, everything is. It's it's like a 10 person dining room table. Like there is some nice stuff. It's all new cabinets. They're all stained gray, like really nice, with a stone countertop, and there's some nice stuff to it. But when you get nice stuff, it's actually more durable too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the point behind some of the nicer stuff, is that it's not going to fall apart. Like Berber carpet is a lot better than just buying your cheap stuff. And the cheap stuff, it's not going to last. So you want to, find your happy medium in what you're going to spend and what you're going to save on commercial versus, buying
Yeah,
that
that's true.
cheaper stuff. Yeah, and the commercial stuff, sometimes it is expensive. So sometimes you are buying the commercial thing that looks like, it doesn't look very appealing, but it's very durable.
That is very durable.
And so you just kind of have to fill it out. You already know that these guys are going to tear it up. I mean, their name isn't anywhere, except for, I guess, like the companies will have a contract with the people. So there's still somewhat of a possibility they take care of their stuff, but you don't want to rely on that, for sure. Are there any questions or anything I haven't answered? Anything y'all want to know? Did I cover the electricity deal? Do not go climbing the pole. Don't do it. You seen the gorilla video? Yeah.
So have you had any tenants yet?
Not at this property. This property is incomplete.
At other properties you have
Yes.
done this
Yes.
corporate leasing?
I'll just
No.
talk about your
No corporate.
existing portfolio already.
Okay, so, well, I guess, I don't know. I guess if we have time. So my first one I was telling y'all about, 2013, I bought a building downtown in Odessa. And, you know, like I said, I never thought I was going to be like a real estate investor or anything. But like as the oil field crashed and stuff, I found that this little place, man, it still keeps kicking out the same amount year after year. You know, it's like $1,100 or $1,200 a month. And it's not that much, you know, it's a little bitty building, it's on 10th and Grant. And, but, you know, whether the oil was, you know, $80 a barrel or it's $20 a barrel, this sucker's still giving me $1,200 a month. And at one time, like, I didn't even notice, like, I went like 4 months without collecting. And they're my friends, like, I helped them. I don't know if y'all know of Curbside Bistro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an excellent place to eat. If you don't know it, you've been missing out. But anyway, I helped them to start the restaurant. And I let them stay there for like 3 or 4 months, rent free, and then I gave them a loan to start the restaurant. And they've done very well. Like we used to like feed the homeless and stuff on my property, and so they helped me with that, and I would fund it through Optimum Torque. And we did a lot of stuff like for the community and stuff like that. You know, we'd hand out blankets and stuff. You know, and so they got their name out there. You know, they were on the news and stuff, and they would wear my shirts when they would serve like Thanksgiving or whatever. And since then, they've continued to do it. You know, just without me, because they don't need me no more. No, but yeah, they're good people. They're really good people. They're Christian people, and they've done a lot with the Curbside Bistro. So they've moved on from that property. Fortunately for me, they still use it, you know, for storage of their food trucks. And they have another property on Andrews Highway and 42nd, close to there, 38, 42nd in between right there. And it's delicious. Like they won first place, I think, in the nation.
Las Vegas,
yeah. Yeah, in New York, yeah, for a burger slider. It's called the Tejano Borracho. Try it, for sure. But yeah, so that was my first building. Yeah, it's really good. Anyway, so that was my first building, and they're still running it out. And so I was like, you know, no matter what, you know, whenever the oil was good, I didn't even notice I had been behind 4 months on this thing, you know. But so, you know, you go and collect or whatever. But whenever the oil's down, you sure are noticing that, oh, there's an extra $1,200, you know. And I got really tired of like the up and down, and I was looking for something more stable, you know. And even though, you know, they say, well, the housing market 2008 or whatever, you know, that I think here, like, we didn't get hit as bad as like California did, you know. But you know, it was still more solid than the oil field, that's for sure. And so reading, you know, the Kiyosaki books and now taking the Lee Legacy courses and stuff, I've learned a lot more about real estate. And so I just decided to sell the company. We shut down like in 2016, and because of, you know, how oil went. And, you know, when you're paying crazy amounts for insurance, $10 million umbrellas are not cheap. And trying to get MSAs, and then like everybody's buying consultants' boats and their family trips to all over the place. And like as a smaller company, you can't compete with them. That's one of the reasons I'm going to tell on Express. No. But no, I'm just playing on that. But yeah, so we shut down in 2016, and I didn't want to sell anything, because of course that would be like the worst time to sell, you know, like you're going to get pennies on the dollar for like millions of dollars worth of equipment. And so I just stored it, and I waited until everything came back. And then now all of a sudden there's people like, can we borrow your units, and we want to rent out your CRT and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, you know, it's going to be for sale soon, you know. And they're like, all right, well, I got 4 units on order, you know, if we could take one of yours, we'll swap it out with a brand new one. And I'm like, no. But that made me realize that was that supply and demand deal again, you know. And it's when Robert Kiyosaki talks about it, he's not just telling you to like focus on real estate. You know, there's all kinds of supply and demand gaps, you know, in every business, you know. And so I waited for that demand to come back, and then that's when I hit him with it, you know. And so, you know, I did all right there, and I invested all of it into real estate, 100%. And I bought my first property, were you at the auction? I don't know. But it was a country club house. And when I talk about doing your due diligence, let this be a lesson right here. So I saw the house and I was like, man, it's been vacant for a little while. But it's in the country club. Like, how has it been vacant for this long? Because it's like grown up and there's like dead trees looking. You know, I'm one of those trespassers, so I'm like in the backyard and everything. And yeah, well, there's a guy living there still. Yeah. It's like, wow, the guy lives here, you know. And there's like an old pool and stuff, and there's a full house, and you know, I haven't had my kids trespassing. We're all over there as a family, you know. They're walking around the pool. We're all just doing illegal things. But anyway, I'm glad none of them got hurt. But as soon as we realized it's because the lights were on, we were like, is that a light that's on? And the lights were on, and then all of a sudden, like, we see, like, you know, like somebody walks past the light, you know. We're like, oh, all right, it's time to get out of here, you know. So somebody lived there. And I purchased a home, and be aware at any auction you go to, you're going to be, especially, Midland, Odessa, you're going to be bidding against Angel Navarrete, so just be ready for that.
Is he still around?
Yes. So any house that I bid on, he bids on, but I've won all of them from him, so. Some people say just to give up, but I'm not that type of person. So I won all the ones that I did go up against him with, but this one he did want to. It started at $65,000, and then I think we ended up like at $145 or something. But it's a country club house. You're like, I mean, $145. They just sold a lot that's smaller than the property that it's on, and the lot went for $190,000. So it's just a bare lot. It doesn't even have a water well or anything. And this one has 2 water wells on it, a swimming pool, and a house, you know, and a guest house. So I knew I was in the good there. And so it went for $145, and I go and like I smell this horrible smell, and I'm like, this guy just died, you know. And so I call the sheriffs, you know, I'm like, can we get somebody to check on this guy? Because I'm like knocking on the door. I done served an eviction notice, and I have no response. You know, I've left my card. You know, I think, you know, there's a smell coming from here, you know, and so they go to check on them, and like as they're coming, the guy walks out from the back, and he's like, the front door don't work, and he's like an old dude, and I'm like, man, I feel bad, you know, but, you know, I guess it's like the nature of the business, you know. But I did, you know, I paid way more than what he owed. So one good thing, like, I'm that type of person, I guess, like, I was trying to look at the positive, and like, so I told him, you can actually recover the excess proceeds. And I tell everybody that I have to evict about excess proceeds. If a company buys it, usually, like, they don't even have contact with the tenants. They'll send somebody, you know, to go evict them or whatever. And that somebody probably doesn't even know, you know, the tenants' rights and stuff, but I tell them all. So this guy actually collected $120,000 to move on with his life. So that was a good thing, you know. And he told me a bunch of stories, like getting to know him. You know, he told me a bunch of stories about the house, and like Elvis Presley was in this house at one time, so it was pretty cool. You know, I was like, man, and he showed me pictures, like there's caliche at the country club. This was the second house in the country club, just so y'all know, like just a little bit of history on this house. And so my neighbor, he has like a stairwell that's going underground, and supposedly that linked to the first house, which was like a gambling room. And so, like, I guess like our judges and everybody gambled in the country club, and they had escape routes underground. So it sounds like a Illuminati deal, but like it's for real. He was like, yeah, check it out. And then like there's stairs going into the ground, and like, and they're at the end of his property, so they're going into the alley. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So maybe Elvis was here.
What was the smell?
Okay, so back to that, dude. Yeah, see, I get sidetracked. Sorry, I know y'all wanted to hear about Elvis, so. But no, so okay, so the smell. I'll get into that. Okay, So the guy, he's like, you know what, I'm going to collect this 120 grand, you know, I feel really bad about the condition of the house, so I'm just going to leave everything. And so he just got his car keys and he left in his truck and left like a Mercedes, like he left all kinds of stuff, riding lawnmowers, TVs, everything. And so I go in there and he was a hoarder. A very, very bad hoarder with animals. So the worst kind, yes. And the reason the front door didn't work was because there was like 4 foot of feces blocking the whole hallway. One room was devoted to the animals and I guess some sort of feces sanctuary. I don't know. It was ridiculous. Yeah, so do your due diligence. It was bad. Yeah, I know. I tried, right? The last thing I was going to do was like break into the house, you know, but I thought
there's a bunch of crap in the way.
No, yeah, I couldn't have broke it anyway. No, he was there. He was living there. And yeah, I don't know how. Like, I went in. My team, we had got everything, like masks, gas masks and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's the first, I'm thinking it's the first time anybody had to use a bobcat to clean a house at the country club. Yeah.
So do you have to tear all the walls out?
So we tore out all the carpets. We threw 9,700, what did I say? Something like 9,700 pounds of trash out of the house. Wow. And I mean, there's good stuff there, you know, but if you leave good stuff somewhere for too long, the people break in, you know, and so that's what happened too. People broke in. 2 people were in jail because of that. So the neighbors are really good in the country club. They held them at gunpoint and everything. But they were like, no, we're trying to rescue animals. You know, they're like, there's no animals in there, you know. But anyway, so
it smells like it.
Yeah, it smelled like it. You know, we just were following the smell. No, at that time I had already like cleaned it up, kind of, and I still have like a bunch of the stuff. Like that house, it was so bad. We cleaned like all the trash and stuff out of it, but I still haven't, like, it's there, you know, and it still has like antique sewing machines and grand pianos. Like they had a lot of money at one time, you know what I mean? And even with them stealing like all the flat screens and a bunch of valuable coins and all kinds of stuff, like I still found like presidential letters, like certificates to like their granddad, and like I guess they were, you know, very prominent people at one time, you know, and I think this was like their grandson or something that inherited the house and just got depressed. I think his wife had passed away. It was sad because he left like her ashes and stuff, death certificate. I mean, like, he literally just took his keys and left. So everything from this family for the past 70 years, I was in charge of. And so I ended up getting in contact with one of the sisters who's like in better health and stuff, and or better mood, you know, or like as far as mentality. And I was like, you know, like for me, I wouldn't want to throw away like my grandparents' pictures or like that presidential certificate, you know, it's like from the United States, you know, and everything. And I was like, you know, I didn't want to throw it away, so I told her I would box everything up, and she was like in tears, crying. She didn't even know that I had lost a house. And it was a bad deal, you know, but the least you could do is like the dude recuperated 120 grand, you know, for him to move on with his life. At first, like, I just felt sorry for him, you know, and I mean, the type of person I am, I was like trying to find some way to help him or something, you know, and you know, he was happy. He was like, you know what, that's 120 grand more than what I had, and they would have took it for, I think we started at like 60 or whatever. If I would have just bid 60, you know, then that would have been it. And so he came out, I think it was like 40 or 30 what it started out as, what he owed.
Was that a tax sale or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was actually a sheriff's. There's a difference between the sheriff's deeds and the tax sales. So the tax sales are just taxes, and the sheriff's deeds, a lot of the time people will try to pay their taxes by using like a lending company, and it starts with a P. Do you remember that company? Yeah, it's a, well, yeah, they put a lien on it. So after,
It's like a payday company.
you know, they don't pay that company, then that company puts a lien on it. And then, well, then the tax appraisal comes in and they're like, well, yeah, they're also behind 3 years. You know, not only did they not pay the last 3 years, and then they got this company to pay those, well, then they didn't pay the next 3 years, so then the tax, you know, so everybody gets their money out of it once the sale happens. But this one went on for like 6 years before they ever sold the house. You know, and he didn't pay anything, and then, well, me as a real estate investor, then I started looking at what other property did they own, you know, and I mean, at that point you can get, you know, with the person who owns it, because now he's right in front of me, you know, and he owned some acreage, like 50 acres in Hereford, Texas, and so I was talking to him about getting that. It didn't pan out because there was nothing there for me to, you know, there's no profit out there. But, you know, you got to always keep an eye out for, you know, for things to, like, one, I mean, you know those lawyers that ambulance chase and stuff like that's crossing the line as far as, like, ethics for, you know, acquiring properties or trying to get something under contract for wholesale. But, like, if you go to the city, they'll give you a copy of all the last month's water that got cut off or whatever, you know, and like, hey, send them a letter, you know, I buy houses or whatever, you know. And divorces, you can go into the courthouse, you know, all the latest divorces are filed and they're right there in the newspaper, you know, send them a letter, hey, I buy houses. There's a lot of ways to get leads. I actually pay the mailman $500 if they give me a property that I sign a contract on. And so, I mean, I don't know about the legality of that, but you can contact your legal team. I don't know, they're federal employees. I might watch out on that. But no, I mean, everybody can use extra money. I mean,
the auctions, how do you find out when they are?
The auctions are the first Tuesday of every month at your courthouse.
At the courthouse? Okay.
Yeah. First Tuesday of every month.
And it's all cash.
All cash. Well, don't bring cash if it's an auction.com deal, because I made that mistake and I did lose one house to Angel, but it wasn't my fault. And that was a beautiful house. It was a $400,000 house. Remember that? Yeah, I tried to get him to bid for me while I ran to the bank because they would only take cashier's checks. And so that was a bad deal. I was like, how do you take cashier's checks at an auction? You know, like, you have to have them made out already.
Yeah.
Well, they want you to make like $500,000 worth of cashier's checks and then take back the ones that you don't use.
You ever bid?
So I had like, 50, 100, 70, like, you have to have all kinds of increments. And yeah, like $200 worth of cashier's checks later, you know, because they charge you like $10 for each one, you know. So I was like, okay, paid $200 just to bid, but I didn't make it back in time to bid on that house. But it was a beautiful house on Oporto, which is right behind the Egg and I'm not sure if y'all approve. Yeah, it's like all brand new stuff. It was like 3,000 square feet or something.
In the Parks Legato area?
Yeah. And it went for like 160, right?
Something like that.
145, 160, something like that. I mean, it's like a crazy amount. I mean, you could have just, I mean, it needed nothing. It was built in 2017. You know what I mean? It's brand new with an outdoor kitchen and all kinds of stuff. Like that one, I think it was like 170 or something that it ended up going for, cash. And I mean, you could have just turned around and put a sign on it and made $150,000. You know, of course, if you sell it like that, it's capital gains. You always have to think about the taxes, you know. So you're going to give 40% or 37, what is it, 37 point something percent on it now if you're over on that tax bracket? Yeah, so you're going to give like 40% of it to Uncle Sam. So what do? I mean, you hold on to it, you rent that sucker. It's rented out right now for $4,500 a month. And that's what I could have done with it easily, you know, to wait 2 years until it's not capital gains and then sell it for a profit.
How do you know what houses they're going to put up for auction?
So you can go to the tax office and they'll give you a list, but don't forget to go to the courthouse and they'll give you a separate list. The one at the courthouse is free. The one at the tax office is like $5. And the one for the taxes is like every 3 months. But there's gonna be one there every month because there's auction.com. There's attorneys that do like what is it called, like estate sales and stuff like that. They'll be there. And so like at one time I've seen 5 auctions going on at the same time. There's auction.com, and then there's like 2 attorneys selling the estate stuff. Then there was a sheriff's auction and the tax auction. All 5 of them were going on at the same time. So you just have to be there. Just be there. And unless it's like an auction.com deal, everybody else will let you go get the money orders or whatever you want to cash later. But the auction.com, you can check on auction.com too, and they'll let you know for those auction.com, they'll let you know like it's going to be at the courthouse, or they actually have auctions online. Yeah. And I bought a house online. Actually, I bought Gardendale online when I was on my way to a symposium in Dallas. So it was like on I-20. You know.
Or those are pretty easy.
There we go again. No, I'm just breaking the law. But I had a passenger that was helping me. No. I was not texting and driving.
Do you see a lot of outside investment besides local? I mean, you see people from Dallas and Houston and...
Yeah, and so like this syndicate that was trying to invest, they're most of them are from California, but we have some that are from New York. With this Elite Legacy deal, it's like from everywhere. And this last one was in Washington, D.C., and so that's where these guys had me stand up and like say some stuff. But we're talking like the teacher, he was on the one that was in this class, he was on the cover of Forbes, you know, and he was like really interested in it too. And he even made like a comment that was like a half joke, half like I'm being serious comment, where he's like, what do I got to do to be in business with you, you know? And this is a guy that has like, I think his 20 companies bring in like $40 million a year. And he's telling me that, you know. So he was the teacher, and he actually told me to get up, you know, and he's the one who told me to talk to the rest of the class about what I was doing. So there's outside investors, man. Yeah. They're everywhere. And like this one girl, she was sitting there and she's like, I've never done a wholesale deal, but I have this house under contract. I just don't know, you know. And she was like looking for another deal and needed investors, and she's like, I don't know what to do. And the guy's like, what do you mean you're in a symposium with, you know, they break apart all the classes so it's a little smaller, but he's like, you're here with hundreds, if not thousands of people who invest. There's capital walking around here, you know. And she's like, well, I'm shy or whatever, you know. He's like, how much do you need? And she's like, $120,000, you know, and this is what you're going to make, and then 12% and this and that, you know, the numbers. And he's like, who here would do that for a 12% return in 6 months, you know? And then like 2 people raise their hand. He's like, do you want to do that right now? And she's like, yeah. And they exchange numbers, and that's it. And they're like from across the country. So there's investors everywhere, you know. And like one guy that was here when we had the Jason's Deli deal, I guess it was like 3 months ago maybe. He was
that
actually
older
like
guy, Florida guy? Yeah.
He was actually a property investor. And he actually like did one-on-one consultation, like teaching like the classes that I'm taking, and he did one-on-one consultations. But he was actually an investor too, and a hard money lender. Mm-hmm. And so hard money lending is something that I never knew anything about. But they will actually, if you have like a property under contract, they'll lend you the money to fix the house, and what you're holding as an asset is like the contract for that house. So they'll just come in and purchase the property, and you lose on the money that you would have made, and now they have a property that they're going to make money on for sure, you know. And they only lent you the $40,000 that you needed to fix the property. So there's hard money lenders out there. Some of them are a lot more difficult than others. Most of the time, they're not doing like what the banks do. They want your tax and O positive blood type and all this stuff. You know, like they don't care if you're an organ donor. They just want to see the profits. You know, and if the profit margins are there, the numbers don't lie. If the numbers are there, they're going to lend you the money. And it's like nothing out of your pocket.
And if you mess up, they get the house.
If they mess up, they get the house. Well, guess what? It wasn't your house anyway. You know what I mean? So, I mean, don't be scared to do it. You just got to get out there and do it. The money's there, the funding's there, and you just have to give them a piece of the pie. And sometimes it is the bigger piece of the pie, but you're going to make free money. You know? I mean, it wasn't yours in the first place. So, yeah. I don't know if I was supposed to talk about all that. But.
It's all good, man. All right. Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions for Ruben?